Celtics, 3 good and 2 bad that changed the season after 76ers now. If you're a Celtics fan or love the NBA, stay with me for 30 seconds because 3 good ones and 2 bad ones today could change the season. First, great news that explains why the attack exploded. Second, a rotation adjustment that can accelerate the team's evolution. Third, a surprise factor that almost no one saw. But be careful. There is a serious warning that could cost you victories, and a silent problem that appeared today. Want to know what they are? Come to the end. Comment if you agree and leave a like, because I'm going straight to the point now. If you like this opening, leave a like now and subscribe to the channel. This helps me bring hot analysis of each Celtics game. Activate the bell so you don't miss the next videos, because at the end, I will reveal which of the 2 bad ones could become a solution in the next confrontation. Let's go together until the end of the video. If you're a Boston Celtics fan, you know exactly what it's like to have your heart sink at the last second. The debut of the 2025-2026 season delivered just that. Drama, hope, 2 real chances to turn the score around, and, in the end, a 117-116 for the Philadelphia 76ers that left the arena in silence. The detail that was overlooked, and that needs to be faced head-on, is that neither of the last 2 balls fell into the hands of Jaylen Brown, this team's main protagonist in the absence of Jason Tatum. Both went to Peyton Pritchard. He looked for the shot, tried to decide, maybe he suffered contact, but the blunt truth is that the ball didn't fall. And when the game ball doesn't drop, late-night talk is inevitable. I want to invite you to go through this game with me, move by move, decision by decision, as we do here on the channel whenever the season offers one of those scripts that could be in a movie. Let's look at what worked, what was left behind, and most importantly, what can be corrected for the next challenge. Because there is a lot to praise and a lot to adjust, and both are true at the same time. Let's start with the scenario that explains a lot. Boston won the 3rd quarter with authority. It was, without exaggeration, the team's best 12-minute stretch of the game. Connected defense, fluid attack, lead reaching 13 points, and the feeling that the team had finally found a tactical way to control the pace. But elite basketball tends to take its toll when you take your foot off for a moment. In the 4th quarter, the 76ers scored over 40 points. It's a number that screams by itself. It's not just the high score, it's the way it came. Accelerated transition, infiltrations that opened the defense, offensive rebounds converted into second chances, and, of course, an almost supernatural night from Tyrese Maxey. Maxey was the engine, the lighthouse, and the hammer of Philadelphia. He finished with 40 points on 13-24 shooting, making 7 of 9 from the perimeter, and at one point in the final quarter he seemed to be playing at another frame per second. He received the ball, went up from a long distance, and his body gesture said it all. Conviction. There are shots that the defense can only contest. There are others that the defense needs to prevent from happening. Maxey moves between these worlds. When he gets into a rhythm, few teams knock him off track, and Boston couldn't. Add to this the lit debut of VJ Edgecombe, who scored 34 points on the panel like someone who already dominates the stage, and we have a night in which 2 Sixers players scored 74 points. If you ask me what had the most impact on the turnaround, I'll answer the volume of shots from Maxey and Edgecombe, the fluidity of their transition, and Boston's difficulty in controlling the arc below at the end, especially after Neemias Queta left due to fouls. I want to talk about Queta with affection and precision. Debuts as a real starter, and what a debut. Firm offensive production, presence at the rim, adequate reading of seals and angles, 17 points and 8 rebounds after a timid first half on the glass. It grew as the game asked for courage. When we needed someone to stabilize possessions, there he was offering a short passing line, presenting himself in a dunker spot, opening space with a solid screen. The exit, due to fouls, with about 2 minutes to go, hurt. From then on, the team struggled to close possession with the defensive rebound. There was a second or third effort by the 76ers that resulted in points precisely because the first touch to the rim was not followed by the capture of the rebound. In the elite, every centimeter of positioning counts, and the absence of our pivot in the final moment weighed more than it seems on the box score. But Embiid, you may ask, and I tell you, Joel Embiid, on that specific night, was not the villain of the plot for Boston. He had little influence on the final result, to the point of spending a lot of time on the bench in the fourth quarter. This needs to be acknowledged. When Keita was on the court, Embiid rarely found a comfortable offensive flow. There were no stumps, cinematography, or robberies recorded in the box score to keep as a souvenir, but there was contestation, body mass, competent lateral movement, and discipline not to bite every feint. This combination for a debut is already an encouraging sign about the ceiling of our new starter in the fifth. And it wasn't just him. Derek White, after an icy first half, found his hand again in the important moments and returned to being the version that keeps the attack breathing. Quick decisions, feet ready for the catch and shoot, close-out reading for the short layup or the extra pass. It's as if the game asked someone to remind the group that there was time and strategy to turn around, and White answered the call. If Boston wants to fight big in the East, he needs to perform night after night at close to the level of an all-star, not for heroism, but for function. With Tatum out, the hierarchy asks White to be simultaneously a connector and a finisher. Today, he was the connector that left us one possession away. I also want to reserve a paragraph for Anthony Simons. Debut is the territory where narratives are born, and his could easily have been captured by an unfair label. Vulnerable defender, only useful for scoring. That's not what was seen. There was effort, anticipation of the passing line, a chase down that raised those who were watching carefully, and, in attack, 13 points that came from coherent decision-making. Simons will still go through adjustments. Everyone does when they reach a system with clearer responsibilities, but he left a positive impression on the side that generated the most doubt. On a difficult diagnosis night, this is a win. Now let's put down the magnifying glass and pick up the map. The question that matters most is, what does this game say about the road ahead for Boston? I start with the basics. Closing games is a collective, trainable skill. It requires attention to details that seem small until they define championships. These are the defensive changes in the last minute, the box on the rebound after the opponent's three-pointer, choosing the right mismatch to attack, controlling the clock, calling timeout 1 second before a possession is lost. Today, 2 or 3 of these micro-foundations were missing at the end, and the score was punishing. There is no catastrophe in this. There is work to be done. I'm talking, for example, about the use of formations with three-point guards, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, and Anthony Simons. They gave speed, pushed the game to our pace, created cross matches that opened up corridors, and forced Philadelphia to defend more of the court. It's a valuable resource. At the same time, when possession slows down and the clock is on our opponent, the question becomes, who starts, who spaces, who attacks the second line, who finishes? On 2 final possessions, the answer wasn't Jaylen Brown, and as much as I respect Pritchard's courage, the pecking order exists for a reason. In close matches, the first option needs to feel the ball, even if the final shot is not his. Sometimes the star's right touch at the start of the action shifts the defense enough for his teammate to have a clean shot. Today, that first domino was missing. Let's talk about Jaylen. He played well, was aggressive in the cuts, imposed physicality in the infiltrations, and was at the height of who carries the main offensive reference stripe. And that's precisely why it bothers me that he didn't participate in the last executions as the protagonist. There are victories that are born from obvious decisions well executed. This was one of those nights where the obviousness made sense. It was Jaylen or an action built around him. It didn't happen. And, to our comfort, there was public recognition that it was a miscommunication in the design of the final play. If it's communication, it's trainable. And if it's trainable, it's fixable. We also saw, throughout the game, how the team fluctuated when it came to rebounding. There were moments of total control of our rim and others in which second chances from the rival reopened the match. Xavier Tillman deserves mention here. In a late game where every possession was worth a small eternity, he grabbed a rebound that kept hope alive. It's the type of action that doesn't make headlines but builds culture. A team that prides itself on its dirty work always finds victories over a long season, and the habit of closing possessions with rebounds is literally the boundary between good defense and the next possession. What about three-pointers, you may ask? The volume was big, yes, but contrary to the easy saying that the team lives and dies at the line, there were more attempts at 2 than 3, and a good volume of trips to the free throw line. The problem was not philosophy, it was the execution on a cold night. Shooting 25% on the perimeter, 11:45, to keep the number in mind, is not sustainable going down. It tends to go up. The mathematics of sport remains on our side through 82 games. What cannot waver is the discipline of the details, especially in that final sequence that ended 13-2 for the Philadelphia after Quentin Grimes' three-pointer with 3.5 minutes left. This specific sequence is a perfect video room for tomorrow's training, where the rotation went out of time, where there was a lack of communication, who should have closed the bottle, who was responsible for the box out. It is from this study that victories in the next balanced games are born. However, I want you not to lose sight of what is promising. This is a hungry cast. There are players in their contract year. There are people taking on new roles. Pritchard as the starting point guard, Nemes Kata as the starting center, Jalen as a full option. And there is the energy of someone who knows they need to prove something every night. The delivery was evident. There was a dive to the ground. There was communication in the exchanges that worked. There was a body in front of strong infiltration. The team didn't lose due to lack of will. They lost because, on the edges, Philadelphia was sharper when it mattered. And this brings us to the topic of technical command. Joe Mazzulla tested combinations, was bold with the trio of point guards, and publicly acknowledged what went wrong in the end. He praised the speed and rhythm, valued the way the formations generated mismatches, and recognized that, in the end, the execution failed due to communication. I like it when the conversation is like this, direct. It means we won't look for mystical explanations for narrow defeats. We go to the board, adjust the spacing, define the trigger for the final action, work on the timing of the ghost screen, train who receives the ball after the handoff, and repeat. Repetition is the mother of security. There are more names that deserve to be mentioned here. Chris Booker is still feeling his way around the fit, and that's okay. The Celtics system requires reading, timing, confidence in the extra pass. Luka Garza had tough minutes, and precisely for that reason, each rotation needs to be thought out to enhance what he offers in attack and protect him on the other side. Hugo Gonzalez did not enter. This also tells a story about what the coaching staff was looking for in today's match. Speed, spacing, and quick decision-making on the perimeter. There is consistency in choices, even when the result does not come. Now, I bring you to the bigger picture. Long season, context under construction, and the honesty of admitting that it could be a gap year in the sense of consolidating roles, giving mileage to those who need it, and preparing the base for when Tatum is back. Gap year does not mean giving up competing. It means aligning expectations with process. This team can, and should, win many games, make memorable series, shut down gyms. To do this, we need our first options to touch the ball in decisions, for the rebound to be an obsession in the final minutes, and for the defensive transition to be treated as a mission, not as a detail. These three fronts, adjusted, change a defeat by a point into a victory. And here, as a content creator who follows every second, I want to invite you. If you've made it this far, it's because you breathe Celtics as much as I do. So let's walk this season together. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, participate in live broadcasts. On good days, we celebrate. On complicated days, like this one, we figure it out without witch hunts and with a commitment to understanding the game, because understanding the game is the first step to loving it even more. Before closing, I go back to the beginning, where history began to be written and rewritten in seconds. 2 final possessions that didn't get past Jaylen Brown. It's not about pointing out blame, it's about learning. Basketball rewards clarity. Next time, let the first page of the playbook open to the right name. Not always for the final shot, but for the beginning of the defense-distorting sequence. May Kata be available for the last box out. May White keep his hand warm and his head cool. May Simons remain committed on both sides. May Pritchard remain courageous, but with his reading polished by training. May Tillman continue to get that rebound that the numbers don't always value as they should, and that we on this side are fair in our analysis and insistent in demanding what is essential: communication, discipline, and presence in the details. The score hurt, I know, but there are defeats that, when well digested, turn into steps. This has everything to be one of them. A reunion with the New York Knicks is coming, and there is little time to regret it. There is, however, enough time to review the tape, fine-tune the game plan, and give back to the season what it took from us tonight, the peace of mind of completing a good job. This team has the material within itself to do so. It is up to us, together, to monitor, analyze, and push. Combined, if you are up for this journey, leave your support. Comment what worried you most and what excited you most. This is how this space grows, with frank conversation, passion, and desire to see the Boston Celtics transform learning into victory. Today it hurt. Tomorrow, the story could be different, and be together to count it, move by move, as we always do. Now it's up to you. If this match left a lump in your throat, turn frustration into reading the game. Click on the Celtics analysis playlist and dive into tactical breakdowns, rotation adjustments, clutch time execution, and individual X-rays of each member of the squad. There I show, frame by frame, how to turn a one-point defeat into a victory with authority. In the Celtics analytics playlist, you will understand why the last possessions didn't go through Jaylen Brown and what is the ideal design for the final seconds. See how Neemias Queta raises his defensive ceiling at the rim and what needs to change for him to close games without committing fouls. Learn counters for formations with 3 playmakers and how to punish cross matches. Adjust transition, rebound, and spacing with key plays, repetition, and intent. Press play on Celtics analysis, like the first video, comment what you want to see in the next breakdown, and subscribe. The turn of the season begins now.